most defeating moment that I have ever experienced. And so we know, and doctors know, that adrenaline in the blood creates certain chemical releases that empower human beings. And when you look back in history and you go back in time, what do you find? In every society in the world, in the secret societies, in the noble societies, they talk about blood sacrifice and ritualized killings and so on and so on. But we don't want to talk about this today. We'll put it in our movies. We'll put it in TV shows. Netflix right now has a series called The Watcher. In The Watcher, the guy is talking about exactly this. His son witnessing a ritual sacrifice where children are being sacrificed. You know how crazy this is? 1,000 years ago, because I'm 51 now, when I was 17 years old, actually I was a little bit older because I'd been a journalist for a few years. I was probably about 20, 21 years old. I was working for Reuters, an international news agency, and I did a series on Satanism. And I can tell you, I looked at photographs of dead babies who had been skinned and used in ritual sacrifices in satanic cells in South Africa. I have listened to the interviews and the testimony of survivors of Satanism and to people who have received them. There's testimony from medical doctors. There's testimony from therapists who have tried to stitch these survivors back together. There's a 60 Minutes piece from years ago in Australia, from decades ago, where a survivor actually describes witnessing people being killed in these blood sacrifices. You can go from Africa to Europe and beyond, and you will find a history and a culture of people drinking blood and of people making blood sacrifices. Look no further than pagan culture, when this wasn't even a secret. So why do we act today, if there's a long history of this, why do we act today like this is impossible for this to be true? And anyone who's talking about it must be nuts. But it's okay for Hunter S. Thompson to make a movie about it, to write a book about it, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and to talk about it in the film, and people say, oh, well, you know, that's just fiction. How do you know it's just fiction? Who proved that it's just fiction? How do we know? My job as a journalist is to ask the questions that people don't want to answer. My job as an investigative journalist is to make sure that I get the evidence to back it up, because I don't go out there with a preconceived idea. I follow the facts to where they take me. And when I speak to a guy who tells me when he was in the unit, which is Delta, that he was on underground operations and how they found children in cages, and I'm getting eyewitness testimony. He's not ready to talk about it publicly, but he's telling me in great detail what he found. And I'm working through the process with him, hoping that I can get more of these people to talk about it. We have a major problem here. You know the great thing about Satanists and secret societies? We may have trouble getting our hands on this evidence, but they love to film themselves. And they love to take photographs, and they need that. You know why? Because once you get drawn into these secret societies and these satanic cults, they need that evidence, so they've got it to hold over you, because they don't want you out. Because the only way that we get to the truth is from the survivors and the people who make it out. And there are not a lot of them, but there's enough. There's enough for us to get to the truth. And I want to tell you, I'm in the early stages of my investigations, right? I mean, I'm still setting up this show and doing everything. Because the media has failed us, we have to do stuff today that is not my lane. I have to be a business manager. I have to set up a company. I have to, do all kinds of things that I used to be able to just concentrate on being a journalist. And so I'm dealing with a lot of things. Remember, I've been fired about, I don't know, I've lost count how many times people have tossed me off their air. I don't care one bit. In fact, it's fun at this point. I just find it amusing. And also, it's a roadmap. It's a roadmap because they reveal so much about themselves in those moments. They reveal what their priorities are, and they reveal what they might potentially be involved in. Does this have anything to do with the fact that the head of Newsmax is an old Clinton donor? I don't know. I'm not saying it does, because I've got a big enough job on my hands just doing a real investigation into child